We was on the bottom, yeah. Now we headed to the top. New level. On my level, don't see anybody. I don't see them. This right here could never stop. This could never stop. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. Ay, this right here could never stop. Hold up, nah, nah. One time, ay. I live on the job, right? Yeah, I'm always at work, right? Real people stay by me, right? Haters wanna do hurt, right? Know they tryna stop me, right? Drag my name through dirt, right? I don't feed into the hate, right? I just answer with a smirk, facts. I feel so special, facts. I know my worth, facts. My bloodline royal, facts. We the kings of the earth, right? You can't stop this, nah, nah. You can't stop this, no way. Yo, boy, where I try.
What's your name again, boss?
Jay.
Jay. So you understand everything so far? Okay, you know you're an Israelite? You know what's required of you? You know, now that you know you're an Israelite, do you know some of the things required of you? Or the things that's required of you? Okay. Well, we're going to show you now that you know you're an Israelite. It's very important. Because we teach you got to know who you are in order to get a better understanding of the scripture.
Right.
So now that you know you're an Israelite, do you know what Israel means? No. We're gonna show you what Israel means, and we're gonna show you the requirements of knowing that you're Israel. Because it's more, just knowing you're Israel ain't gonna do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's steps. And we out here to show our people and love, because we love our people.
That's right.
Read that.
The book of Genesis, chapter 32 and verse 28.
Bring it up.
And he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob.
So Jacob, name won't be called Jacob, it's going to be called Israel. We're going to read that.
And he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
So you are a prince of the power of God.
That's right.
That's what Israel means. And that's what you are.
Right.
According to the Bible.
Right.
This is not religion. This is who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now that we know what Israel means and we know you're an Israelite, now we're going to show you what's required of you. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12.
Bring it out.
And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good.
So what's required of you? Based on what we just read? We're going to read the bottom part. It's simple. It's simple. We just got to put that in our brain. That's what he's saying. It's simple. We're going to read the bottom part. Read.
Deuteronomy 10 and 13. To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
So what's your requirement?
I can't really understand it.
To keep the commandments of the Lord.
Right.
Right.
That's all our requirements, is to keep the commandments of the Lord. How old are you? 17. So you're going to be a man soon. Right. You know what I'm saying? So let's show him in King what it's going to be. What's the requirement of being a man as an Israelite? Right. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to be a man soon, right? Right. So the same requirements, pretty much, the same requirements. So the requirements of being an Israelite is what?
The commandments.
The commandments. And now, when you become a man, to show yourself a man, we're going to show you the same thing. Read
Bring it out.
1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 2.
Bring it out.
I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong therefore, and show thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself, that the Lord may continue his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, if thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel.
So in order to be a man, the requirements To be a man is the same requirements as you knowing that you're an Israelite, and that's to keep the commandments.
Right.
Like now earlier, you go to church on a Sunday, right? Is that a commandment? No, that's not a commandment.
You know?
That's not in the Bible that you go to church. You know what Sunday is? The first day of the week. Do you recognize that in the calendar as Sunday being the first day of the week? Okay, now we're gonna read the day we're supposed to congregate, the day that God gave us to keep holy. Holy means set apart. Holy is set apart for these people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Holy means set apart from the other people. We don't do what the other people do. We do what thus says God say do.
That's right.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8.
Bring it out.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
It say remember the Sabbath day. Why ain't saying that? He's saying to remember the Sabbath day because all of us don't forgot it.
Right.
In slavery, when all of this happened to us, they start making us go to church on a Sunday.
Right.
Bring it out.
Which was the first day of the week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They did that on purpose. Just like they changed your God-given name on purpose.
Right.
Just like they gave you this white image of Jesus on purpose.
Right.
So this is why we out here to show our people, the young and the old, what God say. Because a lot of us go to church, we don't follow with scripture. We just go there, what's something nice, and just look around and listen to him jump around and hear all that good music and pay our money, and then we don't know nothing at the end of the day.
Right.
But I ask you simple questions, you don't know it, because the church, the preacher is supposed to be a teacher.
Right.
He's supposed to teach you what you're supposed to do and what you ain't supposed to do.
Right.
So we are with the Sabbath day, but we ain't supposed to. God only gave us the Sabbath day to keep holy.
Right.
Read that.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
So the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. The Sabbath, you ever seen, you got a plight with the 10 Commandments on it? You ever seen that before?
I've seen it before.
So the fourth commandment is the Sabbath day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So who is the Sabbath day given to? Let's get that in Exodus 31, 16 and 17. So who is the Sabbath day given to? You know? We're going to show you on that 10 commandment plank that everybody should have in their house. The 4 commandments say the Sabbath day.
Right.
Who is God talking to? I'm asking you. Who is us? The Israelites. That's right. The Israelites.
Right.
God's chosen people.
Right.
And guess what? We're going to prove it with the Bible, because we can be telling you anything, right? So that's why we got this Bible standing up here in front of your face to prove all things. Read that.
The book of Exodus chapter 31 verse 16.
Bring it out.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations.
Hold on, what it said again? Read that up on the top.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations.
So are we still generating? Right.
That's
So
right.
we're supposed to keep it throughout our generation. So why in the world that these churches keep telling us to go to church on a Sunday?
Right.
Bring it out.
See what I'm saying, bro? That's why all this, the Bible's a true book, but they taught us lies in the book.
Right.
So don't think this Bible ain't no true book.
Right.
It's a true book, but they done confused us. They started with our names, they started with the image of Christ, they started with all of that stuff, man, to keep us in confusion.
Right.
Going to church on a Sunday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the Sabbath day is the day for the Israelites only.
That's right.
Only. And let me show you some other things that require. No, let me show you who else kept the Sabbath day. Because who we supposed to follow? That's right.
That's right.
So you got a little skills now. You know something. So we're gonna show you. So we're gonna show you the man that you're supposed to follow, which is the black Messiah.
That's right.
But when they had dark skin, we're gonna show you what day he
Bring
kept.
it
What
out.
day he kept. Read that.
Luke chapter 4 and verse 16.
Bring it out.
And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
What's the custom mean? What's the custom?
You said a custom?
Our custom. Our custom.
Yeah, a custom.
As his custom was.
Yeah, doesn't mean like when you get a custom, like when you get like used to it and like.
A custom is a belief or something you follow. You know what I'm saying? Like them holidays, them so-called holidays, that's the white man custom.
Right.
But our custom is, read it again.
And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
So Christ, his custom was the Sabbath.
Right.
That's the fourth commandment.
That's
so
right.
We're supposed to walk like Christ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, all the prophets kept the Sabbath day.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're trying to do. Remember, go back into our remembrance, go back into our history book and understand that the Sabbath was given only to the Israelites and we ain't keeping it.
That's right.
The majority of us is not keeping the Sabbath day. That's a sin.
Right.
So the whole duty of man and the requirement of the Israelites is to do what? What we said earlier.
The commandments.
The commandments. That's one
right.
of the commandments.
Right.
So when you see our mamas and grandmamas and sisters and brothers thinking they're doing the right thing, they're not doing the right thing.
Right.
They need to come back to what God's saying, do the right thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we come out to these streets to show simple things like this is going over our people's heads.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's going right over our people's heads. It's been here the whole time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So keep reading.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8.
Bring it out.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth.
So we know in the beginning of the Bible, in 6 days he made heaven and earth. And on the seventh day, he rests.
Right. That's right.
So he started it from the beginning. He never changed it. Man changed it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Man got us in sin.
Right.
We got to stop following man and come back to what God said.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things is with the 6 days we can work. You know what I'm saying? When you become a man, you're allowed to work 6 days.
Right.
On the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day, a holy day for the Israelites, we don't supposed to work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So don't get no job that make you work on the Sabbath.
Right.
Right.
When you become a man. You know what I'm saying? So what's some of the things you learned in church?
I learned that Jesus was put on the cross to save us. That's the main thing.
And who was the us that you learned?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Bring it out.
Everybody. So we gonna show you that that's not according to the Bible.
That's
what our oppressors taught us.
Right.
The same man that taught us that he was white is the same man said everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna go to a few scriptures to show you that's not true.
Right.
Read that.
It's the book of Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. But he answered and said,
this Christ speaking, Jesus Christ speaking, it's in the red. You know when you see it in the red, that's talking about Christ, right? So Matthew chapter 15 verse 24, read.
I am not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
He is not sent nobody but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That's right.
You know, once again, he's calling us lost. Why is Jesus Christ calling us lost? Because we don't know our God-given name.
Right.
We lost because we keep going to church on a Sunday. That make us lost. When we bring them young kids over there, all of them pointed that was Jesus and that was the devil.
Right.
That mean we lost.
Right.
That mean their mamas taught them that, or the TV or society taught them the opposite. That makes us lost. Read it again.
Right.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So we are the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That's right.
We didn't used to know who we was.
Right.
Until we started doing our research.
Right.
So now we trying to teach a young brother to do the same. And then once you start doing what God says, because the requirements of knowing you're an Israelite is to keep his commandments. So now we're going to give you a commandment.
Bring it out.
We're going to give you a commandment. You know what I want? So we're going to give you a commandment, small, it's easy to keep right now. You know what I'm saying? Because if you love God, how you love God? Let's get that before we get to that commandment. How you love God? You know how you love God?
Bring it out.
You love God, right? So how you think God wants you to love him? By doing what?
By
So, in order for you to love God, what you got to do?
Follow by his rules.
Right. We gonna read it. We gonna read it. That's good, bro.
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 15.
Bring it up.
If you love me, keep my commandments.
So God said, if you love him, keep his commandments. Read on.
And I will pray the Father.
And his commandments are not grievous. Grievous means it's not hard. His commandments ain't hard, it's just that the church ain't been teaching us that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The church, we supposed to learn the commandments growing up. But the church has been taught by our oppressors to teach us lies.
Right.
So now, you 17, I'm old, we just not realizing that certain commandments, we should have been knew it.
Right.
But we've been taught lies.
Right.
So we're going to give you one commandment. You ready? We're going to show you one commandment that you can keep right now.
Bring it out.
I'm going to see if you catch it. Now, I ain't going to explain. I want you to explain it. This is good.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 4.
Bring it out.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
So every man praying or prophesying and having his head covered dishonors his head. What does that talk about?
Can you read it one more time?
Read it.
1 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 3.
Bring it out.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
The head of every man, we are men. Who our head? Who just said our head was? Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And the head of the woman is the man.
And the head of the woman is the man. So who they head? Us, men.
That's
Our
right.
head.
And the head of Christ is God.
And the head of Jesus the Christ is who? God.
That's
So now
right.
we gonna read this and I'm gonna see if you get it.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered.
Every man praying or prophesying. What we doing right now? Right.
That's right.
Read it again from the top.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
So every man praying or prophesying and having his head covered dishonors his head. So what is that talking about?
I think that's it, like you're like explaining the word of God.
Right.
Like your head's covered, like your head's full with other stuff, like you dishonor him. Is that what I mean?
Well, that's good. That's close, but that's not right. It's every man. If you got every man out here, when this word coming out, if you praying or even if you do saying your grace, you're supposed to uncover your head.
Right.
You're supposed to take whatever you got wrapped on your head off of your head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is a law right now, and who you dishonoring if you don't take it off? No. Read it again.
1 Corinthians 11 and 3.
Bring it out.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
The head of every man is Christ. Now read verse 4.
Verse 4. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
Dishonor his head. So what is that going into? How you doing, sir? How you doing? We read the scripture right now and say every man having his head covered dishonor his head. Our head as men is Christ.
Right.
So if we got our head covered, we dishonoring who? So what it means to have your head covered? When you plan on prophesying like we're doing now, you're not supposed to have your head covered. That's a commandment that the churches don't teach.
Right.
So that's an easy commandment that you can do right now because we're praying and prophesying for the love for our people. So what you supposed to do right now? Bam! So what you supposed to do? What you supposed to do with this commandment? It say every man is having his head covered and prophesizing or praying should uncover his head. So what you supposed to do?
So when you're praying or prophesying, you have to take everything off your head.
Yes.
That's right.
That's what you're doing right now. You're trying to learn the word of God.
Right.
This brother just popped up here. Look what he done did. Bam. So what you supposed to do if you love God? All praise. All praise.
Hey.
That's what time it is. Little laws like that can get us, can make things change for us. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
a
right.
little law.
Right.
That's power.
Right.
Laws is power.
Right.
So read it again.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
So our head is Jesus Christ.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And we dishonor God when we praying and going over scriptures and we don't take our hat off. We dishonor Christ.
Right.
And we don't want to do that.
Right.
And all praises that y'all brothers understand that.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.